everyone out there. Welcome to Solve It Out. This is Annie here, and today I'm going to work on a mini project of sign up page with email and password, and there will be email verification. I'm going to use Firebase for this sign up form. And what are the other tech stack? Let's see it. There will be Next.js as the basic framework, Typescript for type definition, Redux Toolkit for the state management, Firebase for the authentication, that is email and password, and Tailwind CSS for the style of the project. Now we'll move on to the demo of the sign up form. You can see here that this is the most basic home page that I have created. This time I want to keep the CSS as minimal as possible because I want to focus on the functional part of this project. That's why there is very minimal CSS present in this project. So you can see this is the home page where you are not now signed up. So to sign up, you have to go to the sign up page. So I'm going to click this one. And you can see here also you can see the URL, that is /signup. This is the sign up page with a very minimal CSS. Now for sign up, I'm going to give my email. So there are some minimal checks for this input fields which I'm going to show. That is, if I write something and leave the password field and click the sign up button, you can see, please provide both email and password. Please provide a valid email address. So there is a check given here whether the fields are the fields are attempted and the email is correctly written. So if I write here, let's do me a refresh, and if I write here like something like this, not a particular email, and give some password. Now if I sign up, you can see only a valid email address error is shown right now. So we'll remove this all and let me write my email. It is anniesolveitout@gmail.com. Now make sure you give a valid email here because the email link will be sent to your Gmail account. Now this is the password. Now for the password you can give anything. There is no checks over here about that. So I've given my password and the email where the link verification link will be sent, and then I'll click the sign up here. I can see I have been redirected to my home page where you can see welcome user, and the email is now showing here, and here is a box present where you can click and check if the email is verified or not. So if I click here, you can see email is not verified. So let me go to my Gmail account and let's see whether the email verification link came or not. You can see this is the verification link. So let me go to it, and you can see these are some of the views which I was testing. So there are some else also login form. This is the latest verification link present here. So if I click on it, you can see a window where it will say your email has been verified. Now you can see the email that I have registered with or signed up with has been verified now. Now let me go back to my this website, and if I refresh now, if I click here now, I want to see your email is verified. So if I click, you can see here your email is verified. As soon as the email gets verified from the Gmail account, it will be shown here that your email is verified. So this will be the project that I'm working today. Hope you guys will like it. Now let's jump on to the code. I have opened up my VS Code, and here I'll install my Next.js app. We'll write here the command of yarn create next app. On enter, you can see it's started installing, and here you can see what is your project name. It will be login Firebase. Make login with Firebase. You like to use TypeScript? Yes. Yes, lint, yes, Tailwind CSS, yes, source directory, yes, app router. App router is not needed here. Yeah. So it will start the installation. Now you can see here that the Next.js installation is complete along with TypeScript and Tailwind CSS. Now here I want to add 3 more libraries, that is Redux Toolkit, React Redux, and Firebase. So let me add it. Yarn add Redux JS Toolkit, React Redux, Fire. Check once and enter. This all will be added here. We're going to need the Redux toolkit for the state management, and Firebase configuration will start after running this project initially. So till it is installing, let us go to the pages folder and to index.tsx. Now, as you know, we're not going to need this code, so we'll just delete this whole thing and we'll write div and hello. Let's check if Tailwind is working properly. So with a class name, I'm going to write text free Excel, give it, and in the styles, global CSS, you can see extra styles are added. So we're not going to need this. I'm going to remove this all. Just the Tailwind basics styles should be present. And also, I want to add a font style here. So let me go to the Google and here let me search font Poppins. So I want to add this font here. So for font Poppins, I'm going to select from 400 and then 100, also 700, or 500. So these are the fonts that is already selected. Now I'll go here for the import option and will copy this part. That is import part. After copying, I'll paste it above the Tailwind CSS and will save it. Next, I'll go to Tailwind config and here I'll remove this background image as it's not required. So after this extend part, after this extend, I'm going to define here font family. And I'm going to write here Poppins and we'll define the Poppins. And if the Poppins don't work, we'll have here sans serif. This is an optional where you have to give it in the same way it's shown here within quotes, of course. And yes, now the font family is defined here. So let me go to index page and I want to apply now font Poppins. If I save it, now our npms are completed installing the library. Let us run yarn run date. Let's go to localhost 3000. You can see here hello is present on localhost 3000. We have just increase the text size and applied the font pop-ins. Both are working perfectly here. Now let's go to the main coding part. First, I'll create a Firebase folder inside this source folder. So let me create Firebase folder. And inside the Firebase folder, I want to create a file named Firebase config.ts. Here, I'm going to first import Firebase from Firebase slash compat slash. Okay. Next, going to import the auth that will be needing it. Import Firebase slash compat slash auth. The to import has been done, and here will be the configuration of when we will build the Firebase app. The config will be here. So here it will be web apps configuration. Okay, so here we're going to put one check, that is, we'll initialize Firebase with a function here, and then we'll export it. Let me export it. Export called Firebase. Export default Firebase is done. We'll save it up. Now we'll go to the Chrome, and here I'll search of Firebase. Now this is the Firebase window, and we'll go to the console. Now here we'll add a new project where I'll write, give name login with Firebase. We'll click continue. We'll disable this and not need it, and we'll create the project. You can see the project is getting created. Authentication with Firebase is quite easy. And here, let's click on continue. You can see the project is ready. Now, here you can see this web, this coding sign is here, and we'll click on this web. We'll register our app. I'll give the same name, that is login with Firebase. And I will not go for hosting. We'll register the app. You can see here this Firebase configuration is present here. We'll copy it from here and we'll continue to the console. Okay, so this Firebase thing configuration, I'm going to paste it here where I have written web apps configuration. I'm going to paste it here. Now you see I haven't used any .env file here. If you are working for a production level, you must not show this API keys like in this file. You should build a .env file and will give the name to this API keys as you want, and will save from getting showed in as public. So you must create a .env file. As I'm working in a test mode, I'm not creating it right now, and also I'm going to delete this app, so this API information will be not useful. anymore. Now we'll go back to the Firebase window, and here after creating the app, I'll go to the authentication part. Now in authentication, we'll do get started. And here you can see the native providers are here. So I'll click on email and password and will enable it here. You can see email and password. I enabled it and will save. Email and password enabled. Now this much is work only needed for Firebase to do authentication. So it's quite easy. So let's go back to our code, as we'll not need Firebase right now anymore. Will work in the code only, so the window is not needed. Now here I want to initialize the Firebase first. So I'm going to write if not Firebase dot apps dot length, then Firebase dot initialize app will pass the Firebase config. This much code is only needed for the Firebase config.css for the configuration. Our Firebase configuration is done. Now I'll go and code about the Redux folder. So let me first create the Redux folder inside this source folder. The Redux folder is created, and here inside it I'll create two files. One is auth slice.ts, another will be store.ts. First, I'll code about the auth slice.ts. At the first, I'll import create slice and payload action from Redux Toolkit. So I'll write create slice and also payload action from Redux Toolkit. Okay. Now this line will import the necessary functions from this Redux Toolkit package. Create slice is a function used to generate Redux slices, and payload action is a type that represents an action payload. Next, we'll write interface. An interface will create interface auth state. Okay. Here, I'm going to have a user, a loading state, and an error. So we'll define the type of user. Now, as user, I'll only take the email, as password is not needed. Means we will take the password, but we'll only show the email in the in the home page. So as we only need email, so I will specify it here. That is, user will be of email, and that will be of type string. Okay, and else it will be null. Okay, so my user type is defined. Next, I will define the loading state. It will be of Boolean type, and then I'll declare the error state, which will be of string or null. So this defines the auth state interface that will represent the state structure for the authentication. And yeah, this much is done. Next, I'll create a helper function that will be named like local storage, if it is available or not. So let me first create it, then I'll give the explanation. Const is local storage available. This will be of type Boolean. Here Right here a try catch block. First, let me write the catch block, which will return false. And then local storage dot set item will be test, comma, test. Then it will be local storage dot remove item test. Then it will return. Now this is local storage available function. This is a helper function which will check if the browser supports the use of local storage API by attempting it to set and remove an item. If it succeeds, it will return true, else in the catch block, it will return false. So next, I'll write another function that will be get user from local storage. So const get user from local storage. And it will be of type, that is email. As we are fetching the user, so I have to give the type that I have declared earlier for the user. Email will be string, sorry, yep. Email will be string or null. And we'll write the function here. And here, if is local storage available, we are going to call this function, this local storage available function here. So if local storage available, then here you have to write the function. If local storage is available, then const user string, declaring a variable here. User string will be equal to local storage dot get item user. Okay, and the semicolon here. If we're going to check here, if user string, then return lesson dot parse user string. Okay, else return email as none. Now, this is another helper function, that is get user from local storage. This needs to be little that's done. This get user from local storage, this is another helper function. It sets the user property to the result of get user from local storage, which retrieves the user data from the local storage if available. The loading property will be done later. Here you can see if the user string exists, then the JSON string is it is parses and returns to the object. Okay, and if it not, Means if it doesn't find the user, then it will show the email null. It will actually check that whether the user is present or not. Next, we'll write the initial state. Now this initial state of authentication slice, here you will see the initial state of the three properties that I'm going to already have defined, but the initial state will now be shown here, that is user, loading and error. So here const initial state is auth state interface that I have defined. We'll follow that, and here we'll write the initial values. User will get it from get user from local storage. Okay. Next will be loading. Initial state will be false, and next will be error. Initial state will be null. You can see here we have used user. The data of user will be coming from get user from local storage, because if email is available, then the email will be shown here. If it is not available, then email will be null. When you are not signed up, that means you are starting off at the first time, that time this will return email null. So this will act as an initial state for the user. I hope you have understood till this much. Next, we are moving to main auth slice function. Okay, so const auth slice. Here we'll use the create slice, and we'll take a name here, which I want to give as auth. We'll take the initial state, and we'll take the reducers. Okay. So take a name, initial state, and reducer. Now first reducer will be taking the loading function, that is set loading. I'll name it set loading. It will accept a state and an action. So state and action. Action will have a type of payload action, and will be type of boolean. Here I'll define state dot loading will be equal to action dot payload. Whenever we'll call it in our coding file, then whatever it will pass, whatever the value it will pass, it will get stored in this state. That's why state dot loading will be is equal to action dot payload. Next, I'll define the user. So I'll write set user. It will also have a state and action parameter. The action parameter have to be defined with payload action, and the type will be that email inside the object is email, string, or null. So this is done. Here I'll write state dot user n equal to action dot payload. Also We put a check here that if is local storage available, means the Chrome browser is supporting the local storage, then local storage dot set item user, the name of user, we're going to set JSON dot string file action dot payload. Now this state is state value is getting stored in local storage because whenever we are doing refresh, that time the state becomes empty, means it go back to its initial state. So on going back to initial state, I don't want that the user gets removed. So to hold back it, we have to use this local storage. And if we set the item in local storage, how many times you do the refresh, this initial state of the user will always have the email if you are signed up. So that's why we have to store it in the local storage. Next, after completing this one, means the set user is done. So next we'll do set error. Set error will also take two parameters, that is state and payload action, where the type defined will be string or null. Do remember this types is equal to this auth state type, so whatever you define here, you must maintain it here when you're defining the payload action. It must be same or you can face the error here. So next, after writing it, action, I have missed the action here. Action will be payload string. Here, state dot error equal to action dot payload. So let me give a revise explanation once. So this auth slice creates the authentication slice using the create slice function. It defines three reducer functions: set loading, set user, and set error. Each reducer function modifies the corresponding state property in the state argument using action.payload value. Next, we'll export it. Export const set loading set user set error equal to auth slice dot actions. Okay. So this exports the action creators generated by the auth slice. The set loading, set user, and set error functions can be used to dispatch actions with the corresponding action types. Okay. And finally, we'll export default auth slice dot reducer. So this exports the auth slice reducer, which can be used when creating the Redux store to handle the action dispatch to the authentication slice. Now this auth slice has been done. We'll move on to the store.ts. So this is the store.ts, and we'll start by importing configure store from Redux Toolkit. We'll move this configure store from Redux Toolkit, and then we'll import your use dispatch. Import use dispatch from React Redux, and next we'll import auth reducer from the auth slice. And change the name here. I want to name as auth reducer from auth slice. So next we'll configure the Redux store using the configure store function from Redux Toolkit. So const store equal to configure store, and here we'll write reducer, we'll give a name of auth, and it will represent the auth reducer. So this is the auth is the stores reducer, and I'm adding the auth reducer from auth slice to the store reducer. When this building the store is complete, now we'll define the root state type by extracting the return type of store.getState. So export, as we are using TypeScript, for that we have to export the root state, type of the root state. The type root state equal to return type of store dot get state. Okay, so export of the root state is done. Export type is equal to return type of store dot get root state. Next, we'll define the app dispatch type as the type of store dot dispatch. So export type app dispatch equal to type of store dot dot next we'll dispatch the custom hook to get the use dispatch hook type with the app dispatch type. So export const use app dispatch equal to arrow function. We'll use dispatch and we'll pass your app dispatch. Now this is the custom hook to get the use dispatch hook typed with the app dispatch type. And finally, we'll export default store. So the store has been completed. All the Redux part coding is done. The auth slice is done, and the store is also built. Now we'll move on to the pages folder, and here first I'll work on the app.tsx. First, I'll import the provider here. That is import provider from React Redux. This is not needed. React Redux is fine. Import provider from React Redux, and I'll import store from the Redux store. So store from slash Redux slash store. Now I'll cover this component with the provider, or you can say wrap up the components with the provider. The provider here I will write store equal to store that I have imported. Okay, and before this component I want to take a div here, paste the component inside the div. In this div I want to give some predefined classes which I don't want to repeat in every in every file. I don't want to repeat the same classes. So if you have some common class, you can define it in this way. So here I'll give with full, height also full, and font Poppins. Now this font Poppins I don't want to write in every page, so I am defining it before the components. So it will now show in every field, that is in every pages, whatever pages I'll create, it will show the font Poppins there. So the app is done, app.tsx. Now I'll work on index, but first I'll create the sign up page. So sign up.tsx. Okay. So first I'll code the sign up page, and then I'll move to the home page. So the sign up page, let me first do RFC, and the sign up page is initial code is ready. Let me first quickly do the little bit CSS and the input fields, then we'll move on to the functional part. You can see I have completed the design of the sign up form. This is the minimal design with very little CSS. There is an email field and a password field with a sign up button. So let's now next go to the states. Okay, the state value, that is this value and on change, will work on it now. So the value will have an email value and the on change part will have an event here, that is E, where you can set email, pass the value, that is e.target.value. Okay. So now this email and set email, let me first create the use state here. Const email, comma, set email equal to use state. Import the use state here. Import use state from React. This is done. So on value of the email, passing the state here, and on change, the state set email will have whatever I will be giving the value in the input field. It will consist that part. Now here for the password, let's first make the state here const password, comma, set password equal to use state, and it will be empty field. There are empty fields, and let me remove the value comment here, and the password will have password state, and the on change will be equal to that of email. Let us have an event here which will do set password to e.target.value. Now here for the button, I want to give a on click function where I'll name it as handle sign up. Okay. On the top, I'll define the function, that is const handle sign up equal to async. Will be an async function. I'm defining here as async e, will take it, and we'll define the type as react dot mouse event. Here it will be HTML button element, because we are clicking the button here, so here e will be button element, HTML button element type. So next we'll define this fat arrow function. Here it will be HTML button element. As we are on clicking the button, so it will be a button element type here. And after defining this arrow function, we'll first write e dot prevent default. We'll restrict from the page refresh. Next, we'll write a try catch block here. So in the try block, we'll first dispatch the set loading action with true to indicate that sign up is in progress. So we'll write here dispatch. Let me first define the dispatch here. It is const dispatch dispatch equal to use dispatch. You can see import use dispatch from React Redux has been done. So here I can write dispatch set loading You see set loading is imported from Redux auth slice, and we'll pass here the value true. That is it is indicating that the sign up is in progress. Next, we'll check if email and password is valid. So here, if not email, that is if any field is empty, we'll checking if the field is empty or not. So if not email or not password, then I want to give a set blank error. This is a state, so let me first define the state here. Const blank error, comma set blank error. And the use state, initial it will be empty. So here in set blank error, I want to pass the message if there is any, there is no email or password in any of the input field, then it should give the message to the user that please provide both email and password. This is the most basic check. Here it's done. Next, I'll do take an email rejects. Here, email rejects. Take here. Rejects always checks the pattern in which the email can be written. So this is the email rejects. Let me check it once if I have written correctly. Yeah, it's correctly written. Now we'll check on it using this regex. That is, if not email regex dot test, pass the email here, then we'll take another state here, that is set invalid email. We pass the message here, please provide a valid email. So let's take the use state here, const invalid email, comma set invalid email equal to use state, right? Initializing with empty strings, not array. Here I've given set invalid. If it doesn't match with the email regex, the email format doesn't match, then it will show this please provide a valid email. Okay. Now here it's showing some parsing error. Let us first write the catch field, then I'll continue with the email part. Okay, let's write catch error const typed error equal to error as. Now this is the way we can actually, I have written it here. It should be, yeah. This const typed error is equal to error as error. This error is defined in the, it's inbuilt here for the TypeScript, where you can define the error as this with a capital E. So this is a predefined value for TypeScript. So here I'm going to pass the error as dispatch set error. This set error is from the Redux auth slice, where I have defined three reducers. One was set user, another set error, and set loading. So here I've called the two of them, set error and set loading. So here I'll dispatch and pass the typed error to the loading set of set error. Dot message. Now as I've written the catch portion, now the error which was showing red is gone. So let's continue in this email portion. Now here I'm going to call now the Firebase create user email and password method to create the new user with the provided email and address. So after this checks, we are going to create the user. Const response is equal to await Firebase dot auth dot create. First, here I have to remove the error. I have to import the Firebase here. So import Firebase from Firebase/Firebase config. Okay. So import of Firebase is done. And here I'll write the create user with email and password function. That is a predefined function for Firebase when you are doing the sign up. So create user with email and password, and we'll pass the email and password that we got from the input fields. Okay. Now after I have created the user, I will immediately make the state empty, that is the email state and the password state. So we'll pass set email empty is its initial state, and set password also. Now here next we'll check if response.user, if we get a user, that is whether the user is created. If we check it, const user is equal to email response dot user dot email. Now for the verification link, we have to first check that if a user is created or not. Then then in this user variable, I'm going to store the email of the user, and then we'll send the email verification. So next here I will do send the email verification. So await response dot user dot send email verification. So you can see, first I checked that if the response, that is if the user is created or not. Then I store the user here, const user, the email response dot user dot. Here the email is stored in the user variable, and then I do send the email verification. Okay. Next I'll store this in the local storage. So local storage dot set item, name of user, I'll pass the lesson dot stringify the user object that I have created, that is this one. Okay. So after sending the email verification, I have stored it in the local storage as the username. The email will be get stored with a name user. Next, I'll dispatch the set user action with the user object to update the Redux store with the signed up user. So here, next, I'll do dispatch set user, will pass the user here. Okay. So this set user will be again called from the auth slice, that is Redux slice. So set user is imported, and after that, after updating the state, I will push, or you can say redirect to home page. So this will be router.push, and here I have to write const router equal to is use router from Next.js. So this part of try block is done. Next, the catch block is also done. I'll write here a finally block where I'll dispatch the set loading action with false to indicate that sign up is completed. Here dispatch set loading with false. This shows that the sign up method is fully completed. So the state again changes back to false. Now the handle sign up is done. Have to put a use effect here. So the use effect hook will run the when the component will mount, and whenever the dispatch will change, it will retrieve the stored user from the local storage and will update the Redux store. So for that, let's create the use effect. Use effect hook. Here we'll give the dependency. It will have dispatch as its dependency, and we'll import the use effect here. So first we'll check inside the use effect, that is if type of window not equal to undefined. We'll check if it is undefined or not. Then we'll do const stored user to be equal to local storage dot get item user. Okay. Then const parsed user equal to stored. We'll check if stored user is present. Then json.parse stored user, else it will be null. Now, according to the value, the user will be set. So dispatch set user with email will have parsed user dot email or so this use effect actually, whenever you are not in case you are not signed up, then it will dispatch to the set user as null because there is no one present, and if you are signed up, then it will get its value from local storage user, that is here. After getting the response and checking if the email is present, we are storing the data in local storage. So this will get the stored user from local storage, and it will dispatch it to the state user state that we have created, the email of the user. So with here, whenever the component will mount, then you can see the change whether the user is present or whether the user is signed up or the user is not present in the database. So you can check with this use effect part. So yes, our sign up is done. So let me save it up, the sign up portion. And next, well, sign up is still not done because blank error and invalid email needs to be placed till now. So let's go here to the email part. We'll write here a condition based statements, that is if blank error is present, then we'll give a div here with a class name. We will close it. Inside the class name, we'll give some little cases, that is text will be access and text color will be red, so that it look like an error, and can show here the blank error. So invalid email and we'll copy the div from the above and paste it here. Remove this blank error and write invalid email. So this one is done. I will copy this blank error once more, the whole one, and place it also below the password. Now save it. Now let's see if our this Firebase auth create user with email and password is working or not. Let's go to the web page. Okay, so I have my authentication window open. Till now you can see there is no user. So first time I'm going to do it. Now let's first check whether our checks are working or not. So writing random words and doing the sign up, you can see the checks are working. Also let me write some random and a password. Yes, please provide a valid email, so the checks are working correctly. Now I'll provide my valid email and let me see whether the user is getting created or not. This is my email and I wanted the password here. Give the password and I'll sign up. Yes, it's now redirected to the home page. Let me see in Firebase. You can see that my email that I have submitted just now is now present in the database of Firebase. And also I want to check whether it got stored in the local storage or not. So we'll go to the application and here you can see in the local storage user my email is present. So all the platforms are working fine. Now let's go and make changes to the index page. On the index page, I will first call the user from the store. So here I'll not need this tree. Okay. So inside the home function, I'll write const user is equal to use selector. You can see above use selector is auto imported from React Redux, and in use selector I will give a state here. So inside this one state, and its type will be root state. Okay, which will be imported from React Redux store root state, and I'll call here the user, that is state dot auth dot user. You can see that in the store we have exported this auth named auth, the reducer. So we are calling, and also this root state type. So from store we are calling the user by declaring the states type and also the state dot auth dot user. So our user is already called, we have accessed it. Now we'll put some check, that is whether a component is mounted or not. So when the component will be mounted, that is this index page will be mounted, then we need to check if the user is present or not. Accordingly, that we are going to show the email and also the verification, means the button of the verification link. So to check that, before I'll take some of the variables here. One is the use router. Const router is equal to use router from Next.js. Yes. Next, I'm going to take const dispatch, because according to the value, the will dispatch some of the current state of the user. So we'll take the dispatch, that is use dispatch from React Redux, and then we'll take a use state for checking whether the page is mounted or not. So const is client set client set is client equal to the use state, and it will be of boolean initial value, so it will be false. This is to track if the component is mounted on the client side. Now next, I'll take a use effect here. There is a typo. I've taken a use effect hook. I have to give the dependency. Let it be empty, because I want to run it for a single time. When you are leaving this dependency bracket empty, that means you want to run the use effect for the single time. So I just want to check if the component is mounted or not. So here, whenever the component will be mounted, I wanted the set client to be true. So set is client is true. So next will be another use effect, which will check whether the user is present and also the set client is true or not. According to it, it will remain in the home page, or it will push back to the sign up page. So for that, we are taking another use effect. And here, let me take the dependencies. The dependencies here will be user, router, and also is client. Inside the use effect, I'm going to check if not user and then is client, then router.push to /signup. So our another check is done, that if there is no user and is client is then if no user is present and is client is true, then you have to push it to the sign up page. Next, we'll check whether the user is present in Firebase on page load or not. Now let me see. I'll first explain this and then I'll write the code. You can see here we have already logged in. Now in the inspect, if we go and check the application here, you can see that email I have here my email ID. Now if I go to Firebase and delete this user, okay, You can see user deleted. So I also want to get it deleted from this local host, means local storage. But if I redirect it, means refresh it, it will still remain here. You can see there is no user in the Firebase authentication, but the user that is in the local storage, it is still stored here. So I don't want that. I want whenever I'll remove it from the Firebase, then equally it should reflect on the local storage also. So for that, we are going to write this use effect. We are going to check it whether the user is present in Firebase on page load or not. So let us take a use effect, and here I'm going to write const check user in Firebase. Okay, we'll put an arrow function, and here we're going to check Firebase dot auth. Let me first import the Firebase up, and the errors will be gone. So import Firebase from Firebase / Firebase config. Yeah. Okay. So now auth is here. Firebase dot auth dot on auth state changed. We'll check if user then we'll update the Redux state with the user from Firebase. Okay. So local storage dot remove item user, and will dispatch set user is from Redux slice, it is auth slice, and here we'll update the user email to be user.email. Okay. Else will dispatch set user as email to null. So here if the user is truth, that is the user is logged in, then the code block inside the if-else statement is executed. That is, only the if statement is executed. Now dispatching the set user updates the Redux state using the set user. Okay. And action creator from the auth slice, it sets the email property of the user to the email of the logged in user from Firebase. And if the user is false, that is not logged in, then the code block inside the else statement is executed, and it updates the Redux state by setting the email property to null. So as it sets to null, then the local storage will also be null. When it will not find the email in Firebase, then it will dispatch and update the user, that is the Redux state, to null, and hence the local storage will also become null. So let's call the function here, and the dependency will only have dispatch. So this use effect hook is done. Now let's give a loading state here, that if the page is not mounted, then it will show the loading state. So if not is client, then return div, and if not user, then it will return null. Almost this is not required. Almost the functional properties done. Let me do quickly the CSS part. You can see I have completed the UI part. Now there must be a mistake here because this line should be present inside this div. So let me check. And here, yes, this is the ending tag is remained here only. It should not be the case. It should wrap up all the tags present here. So I'll paste it here. Now I guess it will work fine. You can see the UI is ready. Now let me put some changes here. Okay, this message I want to show a dynamic one. So I'll give here the message. This will be a state that I'm going to declare right now. And for button, I want to give an on-click event, which will name as handle email verify. Now let me mention or initialize the use state first. That is const message set message is equal to use state initialized with empty quotes. Okay, this is done, and rest is this. We shoot a fat arrow function that is handle email verify. Here. So first I'm going to call the currently signed in user. So const user is equal to Firebase dot auth dot current user. Okay. Next, I'll check if user will check if the user emails has been verified. Okay. First we'll check if the user present. Next we'll check if the user dot email verified. Okay. If verified, then we'll set message to your email verified is set message your email is not verified. Right here, just email. So I guess our function part and is done for the sign up page. Now let's see how it's working. So now let's check whether our code is working correctly or not. So let me first go to the sign up page, and here I'm going to write my email, a valid email of course. And I'm going to write my password and will click on the sign up. You can see here I have been redirected to the home page where you can see the welcome user and my email is shown here, and you can see the check email verification is right here. So if I click here, you can see that email is not verified. So let me check if the user got stored in Firebase. You can see my email is present here, so the user is stored. Let me also check the local storage. Here we'll go to the application tab, and you can see the user and the email is stored here. So next I want to do the verification. So let me go to my email account, and you can see here the email has came that verify your email for this project. If you do not find the email in inbox, as we are working in localhost, you can go to the spam and check it out. If in any way you don't get it in inbox, then you can go and check your spam. Now for my case, it has came to the inbox only, so I'll click it. You can see follow this link to verify the email address. Now if I click the link here, you can see the message that your email has been verified. Let us go to the localhost to refresh, and if I click here, you can see your email is verified right now. Okay, if I refresh also, the result will be same as your email is verified. Now one thing that I need to see, that if I delete the user from here, then would it reflect to my website? So for that, let me delete the user. You can now see that there is no user present in the Firebase. Now let me go to the localhost. If I do a refresh here, you can see go to sign up page. That means the user has been deleted also from the website date. Now let me check the local storage also. You can see email is null. So our website is working fine. Hope you have understand the project that I'm worked on today. And if you have any doubt, do comment down below. So this is Annie signing off. Let's meet in another new project.